To the same being Boswell. Dear Sir, the lady who delivers this has a lawsuit in which she desires to make use of your skill and eloquence, and she seems to think that she shall have something more of both for a recommendation from me, which, though I know how little you want any external excitement to your duty, I could not refuse her, because I know that at least it will not hurt her to tell you that I wish her well. I am, Sir, your most humble servant, May 10th, 1774, Sam Johnson. To Mr. Boswell to Dr. Johnson, Edinburgh, May 12th, 1774. Lord Hales has begged of me to offer you his best respects, and to transmit to you specimens of Annals of Scotland, from the accession of Malcolm Kenmore to the death of James V, in drawing of which his lordship has been engaged for some time. His lordship writes to me thus: if I could procure Dr. Johnson's criticism, they would be of great use to me in the prosecution of my work, as they would be judicious and true. I have no right to ask that favor of him. If you could, it would highly oblige me. Dr. Blair requests you may be assured that he did not write to London what you said to him, and that neither by word nor letter has he made the least complaint of you, but on the contrary has a high respect for you, and loves you much more since he saw you in Scotland. It would much both divert and please you to see his eagerness about this matter. To James Boswell, Esquire, from Streatham, June 21st, 1774. Dear Sir, yesterday I put the first sheets of The Journey to the Hebrides to the press. I have endeavored to do you some justice in the first paragraph. It will be 1 volume in octavo, not thick. Octavo? It will be proper to make some presents in Scotland. You shall tell me to whom I shall give, and I have stipulated 25 for you to give in your own name. Some will take the present better from me, others better from you. In this you who are to live in the place ought to direct. Consider it. Whatever you can get for my purpose send me, and make my compliments to your lady and both the young ones. I am, Sir, yours, etc., Sam Johnson. Mr. Boswell to Dr. Johnson, Edinburgh, June 24th, 1774. You do not acknowledge the receipt of the various packets which I have sent to you. Neither can I prevail with you to answer my letters, though you honor me with returns. You have said nothing to me about poor Goldsmith, nothing about Langton. Apparently Dr. Goldsmith, one of my favorite characters, died April 4th of this year. I have received for you, from the Society for Propagating Christian Knowledge in Scotland, the following Erse books: the New Testament, Baxter's Call, the Confessions of Faith of the Assembly of Divines at Westminster, the Mother's Catechism, a Gaelic and English vocabulary. These books Dr. Johnson presented to the Bodleian Library. Johnson's reply to this: to James Boswell, Esquire. Dear Sir, I wish you could have looked over my book before the printer, but it can not easily be. I suspect some mistakes, but I deal perhaps more in notions than in facts. The matter is not great, and the second edition will be mended, and if any such there be. The press will go on slowly for a time, because I am going into Wales tomorrow. I should be very sorry if I appeared to treat such a character as the Lord of Hales otherwise than with great high respect. I returned the sheets. Footnote here says, on the cover, enclosing them, Dr. Johnson wrote, if my delay has given any reasons as for supposing that I had not a very deep sense of the honor done me by asking my judgment, I am very sorry. Anyway, I returned these sheets, to which I have done what mischief I could, and finding it so little, thought not much of sending them. The narrative is clear, lively, and short. I have done worse to Lord Hales than by neglecting his sheets. I have run him in debt. Dr. Horn, the president of Magdalen College in Oxford, wrote to me about 3 months ago that he proposed to reprint Walton's Lives and desired me to contribute to the work. My answer was that Lord Hales intended the same publication, and Dr. Horn has resigned it to him. His lordship must now think seriously about it. Of poor dear Dr. Goldsmith there is little to be told, more than the papers have made public. He died of a fever, made, I am afraid, more violently by uneasiness of mind. His debts began to be heavy, and all of his resources were exhausted. Sir Joshua is of opinion that he owed not less than £2,000. Was ever poet so trusted before? You may, if you please, put the inscription thus: Maria Scrotum Regina Nata 15th, Asus in exilium acta 15th, ab hospita necae data 15th. Which means Mary, Queen of Scots, born 1500, 15 blank, driven into exile by her countrymen to 15 blank, executed by her hostess 15 blank. You must find the years. Of your second daughter, you certainly gave the account yourself, though you have forgotten it. While Mrs. Boswell as well, never doubt of a boy. Mrs. Thrale brought, I think, 5 girls running, but while I was with you, she had a boy. I am obliged to you for all your pamphlets, and at last I hope to make some use. I made some of the former. I am, dear sir, your most affectionate servant, July 4th, 1774, Sam Johnson. My compliments to all the 3 ladies. To Bennet Langton, Esquire, at Langton, near Spilsby, Lincolnshire. Dear sir, you have reason to reproach me that I have left you your last letter so long unanswered, but I had nothing particular to say. Chambers, you find, has gone far, and poor Goldsmith has gone much further. He died of a fever, exasperated, I believe, by the fear of distress. He had raised money and squandered it by every artifice of acquisition and folly of expense. But let not his frailties be remembered. He was a very great man. I have just begun to print my Journey to the Hebrides, and I am leaving the press to take another journey into Wales, whither Mr. Thrale is going, to take possession of at least 500 a year, fallen to his lady. All at Streatham there that are alive are well. Streatham. I have never recovered from the last dreadful illness, but flatter myself that I grow gradually better, much, however, yet remains to mend. And then we have something here in Greek that translates as, Lord have mercy upon us. If you have the Latin version of busy, curious, thirsty fly, be so kind as to transcribe and send it. But you need not be in haste, for I shall be, I know not where, for at least 5 weeks. I wrote the following testeric on poor Goldsmith. And then we have 4 lines of Greek, which is translated as, You behold, stranger, the tome of Oliver Goldsmith. Tread not on his hallowed ashes with careless feet. If you have any care for nature, for the beauty of verse, for antiquity, weep for a poet, an historian, a naturalist. Please to make my most respectful compliments to all the ladies, and remember me to young George and his sisters. I reckon George begins to show a pair of heels. Do not be sullen now, but let me find a letter when I come back. I am, dear sir, your affectionate, humble servant, July 5th, 1774, Sam Johnson. To Mr. Robert Levitt, in Leweney, in Denbighshire, August 16th, 1774. Dear Sir, Mr. Thrale's affairs have kept him here a great while, nor do I know exactly when we shall come hence. I have sent you a bill upon Mr. Stratham. I have made nothing of the Ipequanha, but have taken abundance of pills, and hope that they have done me good. Wales, as far as I have yet seen of it, is a very beautiful and rich country, all enclosed and planted. Denbigh is not a mean town. Make my compliments to all my friends, and tell Frank I hope he remembers my advice. When his money is out, let him have more. I am, sir, your humble servant, Sam Johnson. Mr. Boswell to Dr. Johnson, Edinburgh, August 30th, 1774. You have given me an inscription for a portrait of Mary, Queen of Scots, in which you, in a short and striking manner, point out her hard fate. But you will be pleased to keep in mind that my picture is a representation of a particular scene in her history, her being forced to resign her crown while she was imprisoned in the castle of Lochleven. I must therefore beg that you will be kind enough to give me an inscription suited to that particular scene, or determine which of the two formerly transmitted to you is the best, and at any rate favor me with an English translation. It will be doubly kind if you comply with my request speedily. Your critical notes on the specimen of Lord Hailes' Annals of Scotland are excellent. I agreed with you on every one of them. He himself objected only to the alteration of free to brave, in the passage where he said that Edward departed with the glory due to the conqueror of a free people. He says, to call the Scots braves would only add to the glory of their conqueror. You will make allowance for the national zeal of our annalist. I now send a few more leaves of the Annals, which I hope you will peruse and return with observations, as you did upon the former occasion. Lord Hailes writes to me thus, Mr. Boswell will be pleased to express the grateful sense which Sir David Dalrymple has of Dr. Johnson's attention to his little specimen. The further specimens will show that even in an Edward he can see desert. Sorry. Even in Edward he can see desert. It gives me much pleasure to hear that a republication of Isaac Walton's Lives is intended. You have been in a mistake in thinking that Lord Hailes has it in view. I remember one morning, while he sat with you in my house, he said that there should be a new edition of Walton's Lives. And you said that they should be noted a little. This was all that passed on that subject. You must therefore inform Dr. Horne that he may resume his plan. I enclose a note concerning it, and if Dr. Horne will write to me, all the attention that I can give shall be cheerfully bestowed upon what I think a pious work, the preservation and elucidation of Walton, by whose writings I have been most pleasingly edified. Whew. Sorry. I'm just checking that I'm not making an ass out of myself, but it does say desert there. Although it would make more sense with desert, I think. Even in Edward, he can see desert. Why wouldn't it be, I guess, look it up on your own. But it's spelled D-E-S-E-R-T. And I just want to make sure that I'm not crazy and I know how to read. Differentiate between desert and dessert. And I'm not. And I was right. Anyway, Mr. Boswell to Dr. Johnson. Edinburgh, September 16th, 1774. Wales has probably detained you longer than I supposed. You will have become quite a mountaineer by visiting Scotland 1 year and Wales another. You must next go to Switzerland. Cambria will complain if you do not honor her also with some remarks. And I find Concenture Calumne, says here, Horace, Ars Poetica. See page 618 for Horace's context. But that's in the future, so we're only on page 566 right now, so I'm not going to do that. The booksellers expect another book. I am impatient to see your tour to Scotland and the Hebrides. Might you not send me a copy by the post as soon as it is printed off? To James Boswell, Esquire. Dear Sir, yesterday... Oh, this is... Oh, it says at the end. Yesterday, I returned from my Welsh journey. I was sorry to leave my book suspended so long, but having an opportunity of seeing, with so much convenience, a new part of the island, I could not reject it. I have been in 5 of the 6 countries in North Wales, and have seen St. Asaph and Bangor, the 2 seats of the bishops, have been upon Penmaenmawr, and Snowdon, and passed over into Anglesey. But Wales is so little different from England that it offers nothing to the speculation of the traveller. When I came home, I found several of your papers with some pages of Lord Hailes' Annals, which I will consider. I am in haste to give you some account of myself, lest you should suspect me of negligence in the pressing business which I find recommended to my care, and which I knew nothing of till now, when all care is vain. Footnote here says, Boswell, I had written to Johnson to request his interposition in behalf of a convict. Later, footnote tells us this is John Reed, who I thought was very unjustly condemned. Anyway, back to the Johnson letter. In the distribution of my books, I propose to follow your advice, adding such as shall occur to me. I am not pleased with your notes of remembrance added to your names, for I hope I shall not easily forget them. I have received 4 Erse books, without any direction, and suspect that they are intended for the Oxford Library. If that is the intention, I think it will be proper to add the metrical psalms, and whatever else is printed in Erse, that the present may be complete. The Downer's name should be told. I wish you could have read the book before it was printed, but our distance does not easily permit it. I am sorry Lord Hailes does not intend to publish Walton. I am afraid it will not be done so well, if it be done at all. I propose now to drive the book forward. Make my compliments to Mrs. Boswell, and let me hear often from you. I am, dear sir, your affectionate and humble servant. London, October 1st, 1774, Sam Johnson. This tour to Wales, which was made in company with Mr. and Mrs. Thrale, though it no doubt contributed to his health and amusement, did not give occasion to such a discursive exercise of his mind as our tour to the Hebrides. I did not find that he kept any journal or notes of what he saw there. All that I heard him say of it was that, quote, instead of black and bleak and barren mountains, there were green and fertile ones, and that one of the castles in Wales could contain all the castles that he had seen in Scotland. Parliament having been dissolved, and his friend Mr. Thrale, who was a steady supporter of government, having again to encounter the storm of the contested election, he wrote a short political pamphlet entitled The Patriot, addressed to the electors of Great Britain, a title which, to factious men who consider a patriot only as an opposer of the measures of government, will appear strangely misapplied. It was, however, written with energetic vivacity, and except those passages in which he endeavours to vindicate the glaring outrage of the House of Commons in the case of the Middlesex election, and to justify the attempt to reduce our fellow subjects in America to unconditional submission, it contained an admirable display of the properties of a real patriot in the original and genuine sense, a sincere, steady, rational, and unbiased friend to the interest and propriety of his king and country. It must be acknowledged, however, that both of this and his 2 former pamphlets there was, amidst many powerful arguments, not only a considerable portion of sophistry, but a contemptuous ridicule of his opponents, which was very provoking. Okay, not my greatest reading, but, I was frazzled there for a minute because I didn't know if I was reading desert or dessert. I second-guessed myself, but I was right, so that's good. Anyway, that's all from Boswell. Bye from Boswell.